because we are trying to make sure the task force is fully transparent and people have the ability to view this at a later date. We are recording it, so I do want to make sure you're aware of that. So I just hit the button and we will go from there. With that, I will turn it. First, I will unmute Pat and Jason and turn it over to them. There's Pat.
Thank you. I just want to double check. I don't see Margaret. Is she logged in at all from our committee group? And I don't see Jason Ewart from our committee. Is he?
I do not see. I don't see Jason.
Okay, you'd have Maggie or Margaret. Margaret, I'm sorry. Cray.
I do not.
Okay, they both responded, so maybe they'll join in. Otherwise,
I'm here.
Who's that? Who's that?
Margaret,
Oh,
I'm here,
okay.
but I'm showing up as an attendee and not as a panelist, so I'm not sure if I logged in incorrectly.
No, Bob will fix that.
I will try to fix that.
Right, that's why I didn't see your name. I just wanted to make sure that you were out there. The same might be Jason too. Jason Ewart.
Okay.
I see Julie and Lou and Paul.
Oh, there's Margaret. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to change, Ivan, if you're listening, I'm trying to change Margaret to a panelist, but it's not letting me do that.
So when you go into attendees,
You
see.
Oh. Can unmute. It is not letting me make it as a panelist. She raised her hand even. Look at that. Politeness. Can you see that in there, Ivan? Oh, here comes Jason.
I can't see anything because I'm also an attendee. So
you're there. Okay, good.
Well, I can change that, Ivan, and then I can change it back.
Okay, Jason just came.
Right, so let me
his name. He just came on. I don't see Margaret yet.
I mean, we're working on that.
Okay.
So for some reason I can't get. You see that, Ivan?
Margaret, which link did you click on in the calendar invite?
You know what? I linked on there was a meeting link in the email that I received. It was a PDF file that I received from Bob.
Did you get an invite for a calendar invitation? Because that actually gives you the panelist link.
Okay. All right. So I'll log out and I'll come back on. You guys can go ahead and get started, and I'm sure I will be back on shortly.
And then Jason is in, correct? I can't see his face, but I see a name. He's in?
Yeah, I'm here. This is Jason.
Okay.
Good.
I haven't met you personally, so it'll still be a mystery till we see each other. So be great.
So
okay, so I think we're okay going ahead, Bob, Jason, everybody? Okay.
I believe so. Sorry for the technical difficulties. New world.
Great. Oh, there's Jason. Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm Pat Neudecker. I think I know, now that I see all your faces, I think I know most of you, all of you, and thank you for your willingness to serve. You know, we, I think, have high energy and high drive and motivation, and then we were sorting and trying to find our way through meetings and how we can hold meetings in this whole space. So thank you for at least trying this one. Hopefully we'll be able to connect differently soon. Just a reminder, as Bob said, this is being taped, and so it will be available to the public, and that's a positive thing. And I think we also need to all be reminded of our committee structure. We are an appointed committee, so we are appointed by the mayor. We are not a public body. So even though we will be publicly available and we will post out to the public and we will post our notices, etc., We do not have any voting or decision-making authority per se. So I think that's fair just to start with that. Jason Curtis, our Oconomowoc High School principal, as you know, is chairing the citizen work. And I agreed to help shepherd, I think is the right word, the church and nonprofit group. And Bob is heading up the business. And all of you are learning quickly how integrated all that work truly is. So we thought it might be a good idea to start with quick introductions. If you want to just introduce yourself and just tell us something that you think we would enjoy hearing. Anybody want to start?
I'll start. My name is Becky Hammer. I am a member of the Oconomowoc Rotary. I've been a member of this community for, my husband and I have lived here 26 years and raised our family of 3 kids here. I was the longtime head of the Oconomowoc Soccer Association, and that's how I know most of you people. So it's a pleasure to help try to move this community forward.
Thank you. Maybe I'll just go through the tiles in the order I see them, and I can call on you because then Bob can unmute you. Gina, I think I see your tile next, if you wouldn't mind. Quick hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm confused. I'm a tiny little tile in the bottom. So, and I apologize. I've been coming in and out. So are we introducing ourselves?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Gina Magnus. I am on the residence team, and I have been a community member for 32 years, raised 2 kids here in the community, know most and all of you through different avenues of life, long-term volunteer and organization board member, many organizations, love this community, and I'm excited to take part in the team and the task force as a whole, and thanks for having me.
Super. We'll just kind of S our way through. I think I see Julie next. Julie Well, please.
Buddy, it's nice to see you. Julie Well, I've been in the community since 1995. Pat and I got to know each other very well working on multiple school referenda. And one of my most proud moments and daily occurrences is driving by the schools that we help build. So I'm very proud of that contribution, but love the community. And when I saw that Pat and you guys were doing this at a time when it feels like people who are committed to helping others should be doing something, I contacted her and said, you know, please use me. And she felt this was a good spot. So I have a consulting background in communications and change management. I work a lot with corporate enterprise as well as my volunteerism in the community. So I hope to be able to use those skills to good use here. Thanks.
Thanks, Julie. And next I see Jason Ewert, and then Jason Curtis. You're on deck. Jason.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jason Ewert. I am a pastor at Hope Church here in Oconomowoc. We're portable. We used to meet at Silver Lake Intermediate School. Now we meet on YouTube. But I've lived here since 2001. My wife and I moved here. I'm not from Wisconsin originally. My wife is, so I'm from here now. But love the Oconomowoc community. We have 3 sons. I loved raising them here, being part of a great school district, and happy to be on the committee.
Awesome.
Jason, and another Jason.
Hi everyone, Jason Curtis. I'm the principal of the virtual Oconomowoc High School and physical Oconomowoc High School. Oconomowoc became my adopted home in 2008 when Pat hired me to be a long-term social studies sub here at the high school, and I've been in the district since then. And worked at Nature Hill for 3 years as the principal there, and going into next year will be my 3rd year back at the high school. So looking forward to helping us connect and coordinate through this work together, and meeting many of you in person, hopefully soon.
Great. Thanks, Jason. And Kevin. Can you hear us, Kevin? Yep. Bob, I think yeah, there you go. Okay, Kevin.
I got him.
Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
You're unmuted.
Okay, great. So, Alderman, 4th District, business owner, father of 3, Corbin, Parker, and Sydney. And I've had a lot of communication with you all. Moved here in 2004, opened up Parker's Place Total Fitness. I've been in business now for 16 years. And all around nice guy. I'm really happy to be part of this committee, all kidding aside. I'm part of the residents, I think it is, and willing to listen at this point and see what type of input, if any input at all, I can give. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Lou, can you see us? Yep, there's Lou.
Lou Kavieski, Alderman for District. Lived in the city of Oconomowoc since 1998. Raised and in the process of raising 4 kids. Very active in our community in various ways, through the YMCA, through St. Jerome's, through city service, and any way I can provide my time, energy, efforts to move our community forward. Serving on the nonprofit and faith side of the task force under Pat Newdecker, and excited to work with everyone. It's an incredibly talented team.
Thanks, Lou. You bet. Let's see, and then Paul Miller, please.
Thanks, Pat. My name is Paul Miller. I'm the CEO for Rogers Behavioral Health. I've been in the Oconomowoc community for the last 29 years. I'm sure, like many of you, although the circumstances of the last few months have been incredibly challenging, I'm very grateful, for my family, 4 wonderful kids and wonderful wife. And yesterday, as I was driving through the community, and it was a beautiful day, I could see the activity beginning to start in the community, and it reminded me of how grateful I am to be here. So thank you.
Thank you. Glad you're here too. There's Margaret. Yay. We'll give you a minute to catch on and catch in. And Sarah, do you want to go? We're just introducing. Sarah, do you want to go ahead?
Hello, everyone. Sarah Kitzenbull. I'm a city administrator for the city of Oconomowoc. I've been in this role for 3.5 years now, but have been a part of the team in Oconomowoc at the city for 19 years this July. So looking forward to working with all of you. I'm on the residents pillar committee, and really appreciate all of the time and talent and that you're committing through this process to our community. So thank you all.
Super. Thanks, Sarah. And I think we have Sue yet, please.
Let me get her. There you go. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
You're on.
On. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I've been a community outreach nurse in the community. I was going to say 25 years, but Paul Miller, if you've been here 29, then it's 29, because Paul and I think started around the same time. I was a parish nurse for, went on to be a dementia care specialist for Jefferson County, with a wonderful group of volunteers, started Family Promise of Waukesha County. And have been pretty active in starting dementia-friendly communities around the state, including in Waukesha. And I'm currently retired, but passionate about healthy community. So thank you for inviting me.
Super to have you. And Margaret, I believe.
All right, I think I'm unmuted now. Well, I'm Margaret Cray, and I am just a lifetime member of the kind of Oconomowoc area and involved in various activities and programs in the area. I've been, for the last few years, involved in various aspects of the ADRCs through Waukesha County their Meals on Wheels and senior dining program. And that's how I met Gina Magnus and our new mayor, Bob. And so Gina had asked me to participate in this. So I'm very honored to be included with all of you. So thank you very much.
Super. And outside of our two Bobs, Mayor and our other city Bob, did I miss anybody else? Quickly, I think most of you know I'm Pat Newdecker. Interestingly, some of us seem to have appeared on the scene about the same time. Moved here in 1999 as the middle school principal and finished my career here as the superintendent. Have been active in community groups and most recently the Oconomowoc Area Foundation. And then I think it might be appropriate to let our mayor, Bob Magnus, officially welcome and just sort of recharge what our charge is. And then Bob Duffy is going to follow with an update from the city from the point of view as an economic development director. After that, we are going to try and have some type of conversation about the survey information that was sent out. Just so you know, we wanted to meet, but we thought we're going to send this survey anyway. So we sent all that information back and forth via email, got your feedback, ran the survey, got the data back. So now I think in addition to your good ideas you've been hopefully percolating, we can add the survey data to that. So we'll try and have a conversation. And I think most likely after this initial meeting, we're going to have to break back into our initial committees and actually put together our action plans, but you'll see how hand in glove this work really is. So with that said, that's the rest of our agenda. I'm hoping we can stay close to an hour. We'll see how things go. But Bob, Mayor Bob, would you please officially welcome and greet? And we have you to thank you for bringing us.
Well, I hope everybody still as positive as you are right now, because I have one message to everybody, and that's just thank you. To be able to have such an esteemed group of people trying to help our community and giving all of your personal time is incredible. It allows me in this new role to do things on the city level so things don't slip through the cracks, so that we can keep moving our city forward. So I'm going to primarily be on mute, listening to all the great things. I love the concept, action items, what are we going to do? As you learn from me, and Mr. Duffy definitely has learned this, is we want to get some things done. It's not the quantity of what we do, it's the quality. And I'm hoping each of the pillars will have some more action items moving forward. And as we all know, it was a bumpy road getting this thing started, and it was mostly because of technology and some of the restrictions and things that we have to do within a city government program. All of those things are good. We're moving forward. Mr. Duffy, thank you so much for all your energy to get this foundation going, and to all of you. And I'm going to not talk much. I'm going to send it over to you, Bob. Let's get this baby rolling. So thank you all.
Sure. Well, as an introduction of me, I guess, Bob Duffy, most of you I think I know. For those of you who don't know me, wow, somebody put in perspective, how long have I lived here? I guess it's 37 years. The first 18 years of my life, and I'm an alumni of Oconomowoc High School. I moved away from here, and I, just like Sarah, am into my getting close to my 19th year with the city. So I guess that makes 37 that I've been in this community. Have had the opportunity to be and come back to my hometown, really to see it grow and prosper in my role here. So appreciate the opportunity and all the efforts that you guys are willing to help provide during these changing, unprecedented, uncertain times, because I think the people of the community are looking for a response. They are looking for information and answers, and without a collective voice of people understanding what those needs are, analyzing and prioritizing those needs, we aren't doing what's appropriate, and that's really protecting the community and the people that live here. I think that's the foundational piece of what we're trying to do during these times. So where have we been? as Mayor Bob has shared. He came in, I guess it's almost 3 weeks ago now. Is it 3 weeks? Maybe 4. Right after he became mayor and with this idea. So we have had to ramp up quite a bit of things of trying to, one, identify people for these 3 pillars of task forces, try to create the abilities to be able to do things like this virtually. Because again, in the public sector world, we're a very public comment driven organization, public meetings, public information, as well as, people exchanging ideas at public meetings. So this is a whole new world for us, having to try to do things virtually as well. First and foremost, I think you've seen what we've tried to do because people get around things like this, right? They rally around ideas, they rally around, symbolism of how do we do certain things to help ourselves as our community. And as we call ourselves the heart of Lake Country, I think it's true, it's real. And so adopting some branding for people to rally around was very important to be able to do that. So having the ability to launch that, that probably took a little bit of a time. Since then, we've also launched our website. We do have a page on the city site, oconomowoc-wi.gov/task force, which we're looking from all your perspective to help us build. There are pillars of information out there, but we also want to enhance that. What do we think people want to hear from the business side, from the resident side, and from the faith-based and nonprofits? So really looking to your support to be able to do that. I can tell you, and if I can segue into the business side of things, we were already surveying people, the business community in April, knowing that as things closed down very abruptly mid-March, and had to really pivot and understand how do we help during those times. I think we did some very simple and some very impactful things for those who are most effective, but also needed to understand what the future was. So we did a survey as well. We had about 125 respondents of our survey. Our group met last week and just really trying to assemble, and I think this is the most important for all of our pillars, is assembling the partnerships that are necessary to be able to carry it out. I know on the business side, for those of you who may or may not know, I'm a one-person department. So the needs are great and the capacity isn't always there. So reaching out to from a state, regional, countywide basis of what are those resources available to help our business community, very quickly put together a resource page for our business community to be aware of, which was often the first place people were seeing information, even from our county level. So very, so by picking Oconomowoc Responds, I think we were already there trying to do some things. But what's the next steps? So again, segue over to the business or the people in the nonprofits. As Pat said, there's likely a lot of overlap here. I know I've been sharing information with Jason about ideas people have about helping businesses and, what people have about helping other organizations. And that's why I'm very interested in continuing to move forward, have the conversations about your survey. 325 responses to your survey, so it's pretty impressive. And I know Pat and Jason are ready to talk about some of those themes and moving forward. So welcome to be part of that conversation. Pat, if I missed anything, let me know.
Sounds good. And Jason and I are going to do just kind of co-facilitate only for the purpose of keeping this moving, but everybody obviously will be thinking and chiming in. Quickly, I do want to tell everybody that while it's not officially a part of our committee, the Oconomowoc Area Foundation, many of us have been involved in a variety of ways, was able to redirect the grant process this year to launch an emergency urgent response instead. And last week, I believe we awarded about $160,000 to local nonprofits based on urgent need. So the point was for them to fulfill their mission and help them keep servicing their individual needs and directives, everything from the fire department to the library and everything in between, all kinds of groups in between. And we will be posting that list, each obviously individual dollar amount or project, but we'll put that list as communication too. But while we were waiting for the survey, that information was out and coming back, and that money is already on its way out. For your information, there will be a second round. And that's not the only thing, obviously, that is going on. And certainly we'll be doing more, but I just want to make you aware that that did play out and there will be a second round. We're all, I think, concerned about sort of the second shoe dropping after we live through and come through this first phase, if you will, the long-term needs and struggles that individuals and families and nonprofits in our community might have. Jason, did you want to add anything specific just from the work you've been doing or schoolwork, just so people have information, and then we'll get into the survey discussion?
The school district's been under Dr. Rindo's leadership at the forefront of trying to keep things afloat. Families, despite income or whatever it might be, can get food on Sunday nights or Monday mornings for the week. It's open to everybody, being funded through the food nutrition program. That's been great. We're still closed through June 30th. That part of the executive order did not get overturned. We are still shut down till July 1st, but we're hopeful to have some sort of summer school programming, especially for our young kids at that July 1st benchmark to get kids out of their homes and back in a little bit. But we just don't know what it's going to look like and what parameters we're going to have around social distancing, capacity numbers, and things like that. So as a school, we're still very much probably back in the pre-Supreme Court overturn phase and trying to figure it out. So that's kind of just an overview of where the school's at and all that.
Great, thank you. So let's move into a discussion of the survey. You should have all received a copy of the total data and then individual data. And I think we may have sent out all the disaggregate groups. If we didn't, we'll get that back to you. But I know for sure the citizen group should have all the citizen data, and the nonprofit / church faith community should have that data as well. And in trying to have a conversation like this with this many, unless somebody has a better idea, I thought we would try and just talk about themes. What types of themes may have emerged that that you know there are common themes either within the group or across the groups. And if we can talk about that and then lead into a little bit about what we think are the specific and most urgent needs. And it seems to me that if we have a common understanding of that, then we can probably move back out again into our individual groups, come up with some action plans, and then maybe get back together. Is everybody understanding that that might work? Great, thanks. Let's try it. Anybody want to share or come up with, you know, what were the positives? What were the struggles? What were some common themes that you think emerged as a result of the survey? Any thoughts?
I will. Am I unmuted? Okay. This is Sue. I was thinking that a form of communication seemed a common theme, that everybody was looking for communication. I would add to that, I think it was suggested that local newspaper or on media. And I would mention that there are a lot of residents that don't have that aren't online and that don't get the papers. So maybe, I don't know, I was thinking maybe something like 211 line, not that we would have one, but something like that. I noticed that a lot of people were, especially on the survey with the residents, there was a lot of both ends. So finding middle of the road, maybe a reopening with guidance, I heard a lot. I heard that there are people who wanted local statistics on a regular basis somewhere where they could keep an eye on those. And, you know, mostly just knowing where the resources were and how to access them. Those were the common themes that I saw. And I think I kind of read into that we need hope and vision in those common themes. We need to build those in somewhere.
Great. And I just thank you. And I think those are great. I heard communication, finding middle ground, supplying and making sure we're accurate with local information, and then creating resources and communicating resources that are available. Just a reminder, the survey, as you know, played out before the Supreme Court date change. And so not to say that things would be any different, but hopefully some of the anxiety, hopefully, is lifting as people at least know there's movement again. So to your point, Sue, I think keeping the message positive, letting people know we're with them and doing these kinds of things are great. Thank you. Other themes or add on, anybody, please.
Add on to what Sue is describing. I mean, what we're seeing amongst individuals that are seeking service from us right now is that people that have successfully stabilized some of the challenges that they had in their life because of the anxiety and uncertainty, have relapsed or have been triggered significantly. And, I think visible examples of resilience as a community, as hope, the more concrete and visible we can make that. I think the visual nature of it, Bob, you started with examples around, logos and brand, but the more we can make visible in our community that we're a safe place that's going to work our way through this together. And then I certainly agree that, part of the challenge is taking the need with the supply and demand, and matching them together. But I would just chime in, if we could think about concrete visualization, of our resilience as a community, I think that could go a long way. Like as I shared at the beginning, just me driving through town yesterday and seeing people active, smiling, laughing, out walking around Fowler Lake, it made me feel good. And I don't, maybe I'm atypical, but I'm, I'll ask my wife that question, not you guys.
Positive, thanks. Others, keep going, please. Other themes or add on, build on. I heard visible, concrete examples, especially like the word resilience, and our ability to demonstrate that in concrete ways, let that show. So
I don't want to derail the conversation, but I think this might be a good chance. Gina, if you want to kind of chime in some of the work you spearheaded around this resiliency and normalness that might exist that you've been working on with the arts folks and the cartoons and all that jazz, just maybe help get an example and maybe help people like visually see what Paul might be describing might be helpful.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, it was a little difficult when we couldn't all gather, so I apologize. We sort of, in conversations with a few of you, we've sort of taken the ball and run with it on a few projects or little, I can't even call it a project, but just some little things to bring a sense of hope, positivity, unity, that and a lot of that in my mind, when you look online and you see the news at night, it's around the arts and music and culture, bringing us some hope and positivity and beauty in a world that's very uncertain and stressful right now. And so I don't know how many people were able to listen last weekend. We kicked off our Clock Tower music series. We're calling it Clock Tower Tunes. The word concert got a little confusing because that implies people gathering. And of course, we are not about gathering. So we called it Clock Tower Tunes. And the plan is on Saturdays and Sundays, we will be, I won't get into too many details, but throughout the summer, we will be providing a few hours of themed music just piped through the City Hall Clock Tower. Last weekend, we kicked it off with some very likable music. We saw people smiling, and actually there were reports of dancing on Wisconsin Avenue. So a few of the shopkeepers, when I called to say, should we keep it going, very positive. They were talking to their customers and said, yes, they love it. They all walk in the door smiling. We saw people videotaping the clock tower playing Let It Be, which was kind of fun. So a few other things that we have, I've been working with sort of 2 music advisory councils. We're also looping the school district and the students into the clock tower tunes. We're gonna, next weekend, we will have an entire, the series will be 2.5 hours of the wind symphony, the high school wind symphony, the kids who are supposed to go to Carnegie Hall and perform this march. So that should be fun, and that's in keeping with our senior celebration downtown with the high school, which Jason can talk about some of the things that you'll see. You'll have evidence of a lot of school support, and hopefully building this bridge between the school district and City Hall and the town. So a couple other things in the works. We have a possibility for Where in the World is Oconomowoc this week? And we'll take you, since we can't travel, we'll have a fun kind of scavenger hunt. The idea of some of these things is just to be very accessible, family friendly, doesn't cost anything to participate. If you want to play along, and then so the Where in the World is Oconomowoc this week. We will take you on scavenger hunts that will lead you to an answer that is somewhere in the world. Or it could be as close as Horicon and as far away as Bali. So, and then a few little art projects, possibility of a wishing tree. So just a lot of fun stuff with music and art. And if anybody has ideas or wants to do anything along with our little group, again, I apologize for sort of taking off without you guys, but we just wanted to be able to see something and hear something. So we just sort of started. So again, and Oconomowoc Rocks was the other thing. If anyone's part of that, I'd love to join into that and loop back with the businesses and involve the businesses in the Oconomowoc project that's kind of going on in town. So just
Hey,
again,
Dana, it's Julie. I just had a couple things were coming to mind as you were talking. One was, is there any way to broadcast what you're doing online so people can hear it from home, and we could, it could maybe connect people a different way? It's just a cool, it's so cool, but if you have to physically be there and people may be nervous still about going out, or anyway, that just occurred to me as an idea. But the other thing that I recently was on a webinar with some folks talking about how they were coping, if you will, in this environment. And American Family Insurance in Madison, in fact, has set up concerts at lunch where they literally would do like a webcast for their team members with music of different, I think their president was based in Nashville, and so he had all the, it was an actual concert of an artist. But we have so much music and so much talent. Wind Symphony comes to mind, but so many other things that go on here. I wonder if there's a way to build on that and maybe make a way to broadcast things.
And we can, yes, and that's all great. We can talk offline, and some of what you're saying has already been part of our conversations.
That's
to
cool.
bring in a lot of local talent, because we have so much. This town is amazing. Its cultural abilities. The artists and the musicians that we have are amazing. All around. So I know that we were asked to play perhaps the chamber orchestra, and we have the Legion Band. It's all ranges from the middle schoolers all the way up to the Legion Band. Another thing that back to the music. Again, none of this is rocket science, but it just hopefully it's bringing positivity, unity, and something bright. We are going to have a pop-up and play. I'm not even going to call it a series. We're just asking musicians to, as you see on the videos, like in Italy and around the world, in New York, wherever, they'll have a saxophonist or a cellist to start playing from a balcony. And I have lined up some high school kids and some local talent that are willing to do that. We're just going to call it pop-up and play, and they will play for 10 minutes. They're not collecting money or doing anything, but they're just going to sometime when the weather's good and the mood suits them, they're going to go over. I told them to try to position themselves on a lake so that that sound will carry, and they'll maybe the Norwegian Bridge. But of course, again, very short, just pop up, play, pack it up and go, because we do not want to encourage gathering. So we'll have to be careful about that. But yeah, it's every level of music, and we'd love for this to be that, I mean, a destination for the boutiques, for the restaurants, for the arts, the culture. This year, without the Festival of the Arts, that's just so unfortunate. But maybe we can try to bring art to the community in a different way. So thanks. And if you want to talk offline, I'm all ears.
So Gina, just help us understand, like, where will people see or hear that? Is that going to be?
Thank you. Yes. Bob Duffy, we have a Facebook page, and last week, unfortunately, our Clock Tower tunes have been we theme them out on Wednesday night, so it doesn't leave a lot of time to get it out there. But we're better now. We have the whole series through the month of June. I'll be getting that to Bob, and those will go out on Facebook, and hopefully can be on the Oconomowoc Responds website as well, and we can post the playlist, the theme, the stories, and there was something else that had. One thing that I thought of today, if we could put it on Margaret and I were talking. We could put it on the website, and it's sort of musical, but not. Just tell me something good, because there are good things. I mean, I hope that song popped into everybody's head, right? Tell me something good. So a place for our community members to talk about something positive and good that happened to them today, last week, or even a realization that they came to during this time about this new life that we're all trying to do. And Margaret and I were talking about we get kind of caught up in the negatives and the things we can't do anymore, but it sort of took a lot of us back. It was sort of like hitting a reset button, having dinner with our families, slowing down, jigsaw puzzles, art, just a lot of sort of the simple things in life. And so we were saying, wouldn't it be nice to be hearing communications with neighbors? I've seen so many people who are getting to know their neighbors throughout this process. And so I just think that we could have a place for some of those happy stories to be cataloged.
Great.
This is great.
So and I have to go ahead with other themes. Keep going, please. Thanks, Gina.
Idea to maybe do some brokering, and maybe the business group already touched on this, but if you take the concept, Gina, that you've started, which is great, and would try to leverage this gap, that the survey referenced, we could create a profile situation where we could, for example, give the opportunity for the Y or for the food pantry, or the other services that are available to maybe communicate, with the community, what they're doing and all the wonderful things that are happening, as a way of, one, closing the gap, but then also getting the messages out there about, how our community is rallying. And this is more of a tactical question, but what is the Facebook following like? And, if I think about some of the resources that we have, or that some of the businesses have in our community, we could probably do a better job of promoting, to our followers, these opportunities. And I just don't know if that has been, I'm sure it's been thought of, but, has there been an approach that's been established to try to leverage that?
And I think that's a great question. And I think it really fits under this big communication umbrella. I'm going to ask Bob Duffy or Mayor Bob. And I want you to know, I was trying to reach out to Lou on my cell phone, because it looks like we lost him. His phone overheated in his car. So he's waiting to cool off, and hopefully he'll be back. But I'm trying to stay in touch with him too, because I know he's been doing some positive work in the whole video realm. So I think as all of this is bubbling up, can Bob Duffy or somebody speak to what is the big communication umbrella, and how should we be using it? And because I think from the survey, people are asking for that. So how do we send content? what video type resources might we be able to utilize, and then where is all that going?
Sure, and I guess I can start. Obviously, we want to continue to ramp up. Some of those skills are things that need to be leveraged. Mayor Magnus made connections with Three Barns, which is a video entity. They very quickly were able to put together a Facebook page called Oconomowoc Responds. So we're doing a lot of partnership things between them and our existing city Facebook page. Again, we still have a role of sharing services, sharing other information for the city. But we also that has been created really for this cause and this purpose. So Three Barns has already done some video work. They've agreed to do some pro bono things, so we're truly appreciative of that. Mayor Magnus is also going out to the private sector. I talked a little bit about capacity sides, wearing multiple hats. Quickly saw the need that we could do a better job of promoting this task force, as well as the good things in the community. So in the process of that and his fundraising efforts to bring on a city marketing intern individual to be able to help build some of that, mentoring both from the city side and Three Barns, who does that video expertise, and then disseminating that information both out through their Facebook page, but also through the web page that was created for the city and this task force avenue to be able to out into the community. So the key is again, even that theme is really right now, and the branding piece was right awareness. Interestingly, the themes that I saw in there, which were very interesting, the uncertainty. I know from the city's perspective, we've shared a lot of things with businesses and customers about what are guidelines. You have two camps, right? Those who want to gather information and those who don't. So, or not where to find it. So again, I think we want to continue to disseminate that and make them aware of where it might be available.
So this is Bob. I'm going to jump in real quick, if that's okay, Pat. One thing we can all do as an action item right now is share Oconomowoc Responds Facebook page with everybody on the planet. That would be a good action item right away, because we're starting to bring some of the things that you guys are talking about there. And to think about Oconomowoc Responds as that communication channel, and a huge resource is on the city website. But in the interest of time, I think we can go through that a little bit more later. But short term, just check it out. We just posted a brand new video clip that we saw this afternoon. I should say Three Barns did, and pretty cool stuff.
So just to say that again, it's called Oconomowoc Responds is the official name of the Facebook page, and all of us who can promote should do that and push that out. And go in and like it first, but then promote it obviously on your own.
Yeah. There are two video clips on there right now. They've been posted very recently. Those things are getting huge hits and things that you can share with everyone in the community. And the more people you can invite to that page, it'll start getting people engaged. And I think that's a quick action item we can all work on. And really, you weren't ready to do this until about now, so you haven't missed anything.
Well, you already have 264 followers.
If I may suggest.
It was 60 this weekend, so that's pretty good.
If I may suggest, I think you want to go to where the people are already gathering on social media. For example, if you go to, Family Fun of Lake Country, they have 1,500 subscribers. If you go to COVID-19 Care for Lake Country, they have 2,200 subscribers, and they started 2 months ago. So the people of our community are already gathered socially. Go to those platforms and see if you can bring people from one over to the other.
Would you repeat?
Yeah.
You said COVID-19 Care, and what was the other one?
COVID-19 Care for Lake Country is the one. The other is, Family? Some of you guys know.
I'm sorry?
you guys can hear me, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it on my Facebook page. I've got well over 2,500 individuals at this point just on the Parker's Place.
Great.
Go ahead and make sure that I do that. I'll like it. I didn't know that that was out there. So
it's new.
What was the name of that again?
Oconomowoc Responds, and it's new. I think it might have launched this week.
A week ago, yeah.
Or yeah. Oconomowoc Responds.
Sure. I'll make sure I put that on there.
And I do know that Lake Country Family Fun, if that's the one you're thinking of, Jason, Lake Country Family Fun is actually a partner we engaged with in order to distribute the survey. So we'll make sure we pop out to them to get them to push it. And they're very community minded in doing that and have been.
So just so I'm hearing this correctly, so under this big notion of communication, are we all understanding then that the major communication vehicle will be that Facebook page and the city page? Because then I think we all have to drive information there. So go ahead, when you have stuff, populate, put it there, get it there. And make sure we have to keep sending that message that that's where people should look. I think when we meet in our individual groups, we can talk about whether we're going to create like resource guides or whatever. You have to help me because sometimes I'm a little old school. I think like paper and that type of stuff, lists of things. So it's more where we put those lists and how people will get at them. So keep going. Thank you for that, Jason. I think that helps.
When you said the city page, is it the Oconomowoc Responds website or is it the city website? And they're linked, I would imagine?
One is a subset of the other, right, Bob? So the city page has the Oconomowoc Responds page in it.
Correct. We have a city website. And then if anybody from a business or a resident, we have a resident help center. It comes right off that, or they can go to Oconomowoc-WI/task force and it takes them right there.
Okay. Now, that's communicating this task force to the public. How can we communicate as the three teams in a way that, because I want to know what the business team is doing and what the nonprofit faith community team is doing, so that I can tell people.
Mm-hmm.
How do we communicate best?
Well, I think their intent was, and until we met like this, there are 3 sections on that Oconomowoc Responds page, if you will. And I think all of us then will have to be responsible for putting our work and ideas there and keep populating that so that I think, and Julie, help us out. I think we've got to drive this to one location or just a few locations. So that people know where to put things, but also where to look. Do you have other thoughts on that? Or
I would agree. The one thing that's coming to mind, I don't know if Gina, you were talking about sort of an inner team type of communication that sort of we talk about before everything is baked, or if, assuming that we're going to post whatever we're ready to share with the world on the website, but there might be some interim conversation. So we may want to talk about that separately. But the other thing I was wondering, Bob, is sometimes on websites, there's a way to opt in to a list when updates are posted. And that may be another way that we could start pushing some of this stuff out. So when there's an update, when a new music concert is posted or when there's a new resource guide, it could literally, for the people who opt in, it would automate somehow a communication out to people. That might be something to think about, as people opt in. Not everybody's on Facebook, although there's a lot of action that we certainly should take advantage of. The other thing I was wondering about, because as I look at the themes here, people are looking for a greater sense of community. I think what you described, Gina, is so great for that. They're looking for virtual seminars to educate on the resources and assistance. Big one is assistance with access to technology and social services. And I'm just wondering if there's a way to bring those partners together and create, some sort of a way to broadcast some of that stuff too. I know that can be a lot of work. So we have to balance how that works, but maybe there are people in business who would want to get more exposure by sharing something that's good for the community. Just some of those concepts of how to put these themes into communicated information that people then can attain, help by listening to what we put out. I don't have anything tangible, but that's what's coming to mind as I see some of these needs that are identified as priorities.
I think one thing that we could do well is when we take our nonprofits is to talk about the services that they provide, but then show that up from both sides. Those that need to access those services. So what services are there to give that information to people who need to access the services, but then also we're seeing right now a big upsurge in people feeling very helpless and non-productive and wanting to contribute to the world in some positive way. So a lot of people are wanting to volunteer, which isn't very easy to do right now, but a lot of people are also donating money. So I think that if we had some sort of a listing of nonprofits, this sort of the middle of it is, this is who we are, this is who we serve, this is when we're open, this is our mission statement, this is where we're located, that's it. How do I access the service? How do I give to that service? So prop it up from both sides. And then one thing that, Julie, you said the word partner, and that reminded me that we've always we've talked about partners in the community, and sometimes we're going to call on people to give, and sometimes we're going to be wanting to take. Same thing, that which side are we going to be on at any point in time? But I think if every team creates a partner list, that we're going to list the same people. So if we could have a document among the 3 teams that lists all the partners, and then let's say the business team has tapped into Bimbo Bakeries for something, then maybe the people team is going to say, oh, well, that's okay. We can still talk to them. Ours isn't that taxing. Or no, we need to lay off because the business team already talked to them, so that we're not hitting the same people up over and over again. And so we want to make opportunities with that partner list, but also not overdo it. So I don't know. I'm not tech savvy and sophisticated. Can we do that with like a Google document somehow, or a spreadsheet?
Making the community resource guide that would list one, and we can do. We can reach back, obviously, but we asked one of those things on their survey if they'd like to be included. So we want to make a resource guide just to put there. And I struggle with how do we get it out to people rather than assuming people know where to go to look to get it. You know what I'm saying? So,
and I would say more
that out.
For me, I was thinking more, and I want to see that happen too, but I was thinking more of the partners list internally among our 3 teams, and who is tapped whom at what point for what, so that we know that we don't keep asking the same people for more and more.
Well, I think we should maybe clarify though, like what I understood that our charge was to encourage and kind of be the conduit and communicate. Are you saying we'll also be looking and soliciting resources?
Well, I know our team will be. For some of the projects, nothing big, but yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to partner, for instance, with Books and Company and the library to do the Where in the World is Oconomowoc.
Okay.
So it needn't be financial support. It can be any type of support. But I think it would be nice internally, just even the exercise of creating that list of potential partners in our community, because this is a big city. I started listing all the different kinds of businesses, and the list just kept going on. So lots of potential out there.
And that's an internal document, so it sounds like a spreadsheet to me that would be that would have columns of, all the businesses and contacts and then the committees across the top and maybe, a check and then a little space on the side to say what specifically they were being asked for. Would that work across all of us? And then who would manage that so that we all know where to add things to that? Would the three committee, how do you see that working? I mean, I think it's organized. Can somebody kind of own it so we know where to keep sending things?
I'll set it up, Pat, and get it out to us, and we can be either editors or people can email me with resources. But I'll get that set up this weekend and get it out by early next week.
Okay, and is everybody familiar with a Google Doc? Because if that works for people, we could create it, put it in a Google Doc, and when you've got something, you can go ahead and put it there. And if you're not comfortable, just then get it to one of us and we'll put it there. Just give me a nod. Does that seem like that would work for everybody and include everyone? Okay, we'll do that. Let's work on that piece. So we'll have that and also this resource guide. I want to go back to this video and communication because I heard communication as well as positive message, resilient, tell the story, all of that, all the good that's going on. Do we, Bob, I guess is the question. And I think Lou might be back on. He just said that he is. Watch for him, Bob, because I don't see his little tile.
Okay. I don't either yet.
But anyway, do we have access to make quick 5-10 minute videos of our nonprofits? Are we, I don't know the arrangement with creating these videos. Are we able to do that? And then because we did ask them if we could post, and any of them that said yes, I've sent into the city their logo and their information. Do we want to capture little stories from nonprofits as well? Are we able to do that?
We can do it on the task force pages. And to answer Julie's question, we do have the ability for people to opt in on the task force homepage. We have something called Task Force News and Announcements. People who subscribe to the city's page can choose that as an opt-in. So we have a notify me system that right now on our homepage, we probably have 900 people that sign up for it. But you can sign up for sub pages as well. So, I mean, like Pat and Jason, you as chairs, you were signed up on your people at Oconomowoc. So every time an agenda gets posted for this, they get notified. You as this task force, if you signed up to get your agenda via in there, you can get the agenda that way. So we are set up to be able to do that. The key becomes, some people opt in and then they find out, sometimes when things get posted, they can get it both via email or to their phone via text, which directs them back to our website. So again, it goes up and down based on how people want to receive information. Because they can also go back and opt out, and that happens as well.
And to talk directly about the videos, yes, if you want to do that, we'll make it happen. Tell us what you need, and we'll find those resources to do it. Sometimes, if it's just a casual video, frankly, an iPhone works incredibly well. Lou likes to do these, and he's very talented, and so he may be a good resource for everyone. I'm speaking for him, so please take it with a grain of salt. We need to ask him. But I think
when his phone died, we assigned him. No, I'm kidding.
Be sure your battery's charged before you enter this meeting.
That's right.
But what might be nice is, because I was thinking, 5 or 10 video minutes, anything is going to add up. So if we maybe highlighted any organization, nonprofit or church community, I don't know, maybe not, maybe that's so nonprofit. So we highlight a nonprofit that has asked to have a little attention, and we have sort of a template where there's maybe the same question is asked of each one, and then they would be like one a week highlighted. And I know I attended a roundtable for the chamber like 2 years ago with nonprofits, and the chamber at that time had 45 nonprofit members, which stunned me. I mean, so that's clearly not every nonprofit is going to be a member of the chamber. So just that our town has 45 nonprofits is amazing. So
We
if we maybe highlighted ones that wanted to, we're happy to do it.
We sent out a request to 60. So we have names of 60 in our area and we got 24 back. So not, I mean, which is good. That's really a pretty good response, almost half. But I'm thinking when our group meets and we take this idea and flesh it out a little bit, since we've already surveyed them once, my thought was we could divide up and actually make personal calls to these groups and so that they feel supported and we can talk. I think we can work that out, but I just wanted to know if we had access to a small video or whatever. And in respect of time, I want to make sure too, Jason, are we capturing under this big umbrella of nonprofit? Do the churches and faith communities kind of all fit and flow in there? Or is there something we're missing that we're not aware of?
I haven't heard anything come up so far that either exempts faith communities or any particular unique needs that they have, except except what other nonprofits are feeling.
Okay, so again, including them in resources, because obviously there's a lot of outreach that goes on through all of those entities. And I think, in this resource guide, we can do a list version on these pages, but then also maybe capture a few positive stories, whether they're, church groups or whatever. We have all kinds of outreach, food pantries, all kinds of things. So I think we can capture that. It's 10 after 5. We can keep going, maybe 5-10 minutes to wrap up. I don't want to take your whole evening. Are there other themes or comments or anything for the good? Any needs? Let's focus on needs. Are there any needs, specific needs that we're aware of that you think we're missing or that we have not met through this conversation? And then I think our next step will be very quickly to get our individual committees working again and doing a meeting quickly to work out an action plan.
Pat, do we have communication available to people that are not on the internet? I mean, like, can we get on TV? I mean, do we have other outlets to reach people who don't read the paper or who are not online?
Yeah, somebody else better than me will need to weigh in. That was always the challenge of ours. We don't have a local television channel here. We have video, we have, email and paper. And when you talk to people, they say, oh, I don't get the paper or I don't look on. So I don't know. Somebody beyond me maybe knows how to do that. Is it signage? What is it? Anybody have an idea of what works or how we do that?
Yeah, and again, I can respond to the newspaper side, even anything we've disseminated about the task force or press releases from the city. We include both of our local reporters in that. As you know, in print now, they're grabbing the most important thing at the time. So you don't always get information out there. We have had the opportunity in the past to reach out. I don't know them personally, but we are somewhat fortunate in this community. If there's anybody who knows the local news personalities that live here, that would be great to do it that way because I think it's that personal connection. I think that helps get that word out. I know we have somebody here from Channel 12. I know we have someone here from Channel 4. I think we have the programming director from CBS, so that's Channel 58, right here, and who lives in the community. But I don't know him. I just know that they live here. So if anybody does know them, having TV presence would be awesome. It's just, we're not unfortunately, where a lot of the crisis is, and that's where they're moving from place to place.
Okay, I just got a text from Lou. He can hear us, but I think he may still be, when he logged back in, Bob, he's in not as a panel. So I don't know if you can get him back in, but he said he can help with that. So, so I think when our group meets, we'll take that up too, but this communication spans over a lot of them and that's why we wanted to meet as a whole group. And you might end this thinking, well, we really didn't decide anything, but this big idea of all these pieces And then we're each going to have to come up with our task force or our action plan is what we were hoping we could do quickly. So communication seems to be huge, and working all the channels, and then also getting information out, but letting people know that we're responding to them and we hear them and we hear their needs. I want to go back to that. Are there any other needs that you're aware of? Either yourself, you're aware from conversations or the survey, or just your intuition that that we haven't thought of. I'm assuming immediate things like food, clothing, shelter have been coordinated across a variety of groups. That doesn't mean that financially those groups are sustainable. We saw that in some of the grants through the foundation. But anybody want to weigh in on, you know, what are those, is there anything we're missing, I guess is what I'm saying. And here's Lou again, communication through churches would be big. So maybe we can loop back in to, in addition to communicating how churches are serving, we could use them as a communication platform as well. And maybe somebody like Lou and Jason, et cetera, could help us when we talk, we could coordinate that as well. Any pieces we're missing that come to mind?
Yeah, it's Julie, while we're on the subject of communication, since that is kind of my area, I would suggest a couple of things that we keep in mind, because there's a lot of work involved in communicating. There's a lot of benefit for it, but you kind of got to go back to what are we trying to accomplish? You know, from the get-go, we could be communicating ourselves silly, but what do we really want to give people? Do we want to maybe set up some criteria for the key things that we are about and the key things that we're going to communicate about? You know, maybe we pick the top 5 needs that we're identifying, that, you know, creating a sense of belonging, sharing resources, engaging in the positivity, whatever those things may be. And then maybe we can come up with a regular cadence that would put information out, you know, like Gina, you've got the concerts going, or the, you know, the music going. Maybe there's a weekly thing that gets posted. And then if people have updates in between, they can have a place to put them. And then the churches get an update at the same time and are encouraged to share it, or something, you know, something that becomes a thing that we can march to, but also a thoughtful way to consider what our goals are and how we're going to decide how that communication can support what we're doing and what we think will be successful.
Yeah, maybe even as the teams meet, having any agreed upon action just communicated with the other team leads, or whatever we're calling coordinators, so that then those action items, again, like you said, I mean, if we're hearing the process on all 3 teams, we're just going to tune out. It's too tedious. So when we get to we can know what you're working on, we can know when it's going to go, and then maybe that's all we need to know. But I would like to have a clue what's, at least a you know, a working knowledge of what's going on in the other teams, but not all of it.
So hearing that, I think there's, based on what we all said, if we, and Bob and Jason and I usually have a conference on Monday mornings. We've just sort of tried to say, okay, where are we going? What do we do next? Now we could, you know, shape that a little bit more regularly and with a different outline. But based on what we all said when we started this and what came out of the survey, it sounds like the big headers, if you will, would be local information. People want to know what's going on. Resources, where can they go to get help and find things and whatever, or contribute. And with that would be, how can I contribute and how can I help? So there could be a contributions. I'm just thinking of kind of the organizer for this. And then the other was this notion of, we've described it a variety of ways. Tell me something good. These visible examples of a resiliency, returning to normal life, et cetera. That whole notion, and maybe that's even called, you know, what's good about Oconomowoc or, something. Do those categories resonate? Because then, and we can all flesh this out, but it goes across all three committees. That's why I want to kind of hear it now. And if we could get it nailed down a little bit, we could all start working from that and then come back and see if those are the categories. Any thoughts on that? I just lost my.
I'd like to, I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, I think this is outstanding. At first, I was kind of a little concerned on where this was going to go, and I really do appreciate the fact that we're coming together with one common goal, and that's an outstanding thing, and that's helping Oconomowoc and to help its residents. A couple of things. First off, as far as the where we can go into help, this is an appropriate time. Case is, but I'd really like to go ahead and share this with you all, because I know probably most of you do not know what I've got going on here. I have a foundation. It's called the Ellis Hope Foundation, and what we're doing is we're working to create a healthier everyday life for all people by fighting unhealthy living one person at a time. The Ellis Hope Foundation provides various financial solutions allowing individuals the opportunity to work with one-on-one personal trainers. Now, it's important. This is not about Parker's Place. Parker's Place is exempt from this. This is not about Parker's Place. I need for you all to understand that. This is the other places in the city here. Basically, what we do is we come alongside individuals that do not have the ability, or I've had people call me and have to quit because they don't have the finances back to their fitness place. And what we do is we come alongside them and we help them in a financial way so that they can continue on that. Now, the bottom line here, guys, is this: there's so much going on at this point in time. I've heard so many people say, "I need this because this is my mental break. This is something that I need to feel good about today." And a lot of people have lost that ability because of finances, because of this pandemic, because of the fact that they've lost their jobs. So that's what the Ellis Foundation does. And you and I like to have a conversation on how I can help in a sense.
So if I can use that as an example, if I may, so taking this through our framework, if you will, that might be an example of something we would advertise, if you will, for lack of a better term, on our list and what we're pushing out. And that two-way opportunity, the way for people to seek out a place they might receive service or help, and a place for the community who wants to contribute, help out, whatever, donate. So that could be one example of a nonprofit of many nonprofits. Is that how everybody's seeing that?
And once again, it is a nonprofit, and it's not about this place. It's about Snap Fitness. It's about the why. It's Anytime Fitness.
Your umbrella, but that would be a perfect example. So I think that's a great example to show, here's how we meet people's needs. Here's something that's already going on that a lot of people don't know about. We connect, and then here's a way you can support. So thank you. And I think, and that would be a great story, a great interview of some kind.
Okay, thank you.
Can I touch to the communication issue and to the people that don't subscribe to the paper and aren't online? It's really, really old school, but I've had the opportunity in a little town that we get to go to. They literally have a village green, and on the village green is a gigantic blackboard. And every week, all the happenings that are going on, the blood drive, the food pantry, the Thanksgiving dinner, the community, whatever. So do we have a store? And I know that that's difficult in the long run because somebody has to keep it relevant, has to keep it up to date and current. Otherwise, you just stop looking. But is there a place, like, is there a storefront that's maybe not being used where we could have, at least for, a couple months, and we'll see how it goes? I know when we take our walks, it's a little town called Woodstock. I always look at the blackboard, and it amazingly holds up to the weather. I don't know how, but so I don't know if there's maybe we could try it in a vacant storefront for now. Just handwritten, nothing fancy. And then if it's something that people like and it's a way to post meetings or to say, again, all those things that are going on in the community, like the Clock Tower Tunes this weekend is the Fabulous 40s greatest hits from the greatest generation, you know, like that's on there. People know to look. It could become something maybe at the Village Green, a permanent fixture, but for now in a vacant storefront. And I would take responsibility for updating it.
I think it's a great idea. Like you said, it's all about management. And it seems like once we get this information organized so that we have the same information on the city page, the Facebook, and that, you know, whether it's the Village Green or what, once it's organized, we can push it out to a variety of places, right?
In
Okay.
regard,
Go ahead.
in regards to the Village Green,
Yep.
this is Lou. Maybe there's a digital display board there. I have that makes the management of that and the disbursement of that much easier and relevant and engaging.
I agree. That would be great because you can operate it remotely, and it allows you to control things, update it quickly, plug it into another mechanism to do it. So I think that's a great idea.
We might be able to get, it would be interesting to explore if there's funding for that through a FEMA grant or some kind of emergency grant process or cycle that would be associated with the COVID. So it doesn't come out of city funds. It could be funded through outside resources.
You have any idea, Lou, like what's the ballpark for something like that?
I do. I had a quote for that last year. Bob, do you have that?
I do not. I mean, we talked about it probably about 7 or 8 years ago when we reconstructed downtown.
I have a quote for it.
And I know we had a collaborative conversation with the school district, not about the Village Green, but on Forest and Summit Avenue, or a community calendar, a community bullet or community joint sign at that location where we have a banner. But
well, do you want to try it low tech for a couple months? And I can literally just write things on a chalkboard in a downtown window, and anything that goes on it would be anything that's endorsed by the city or by this task force. Nothing, you know, you can't just because, yeah, nothing private.
I mean,
this is Bob. If I can jump in, I like the idea of starting something if that's what you guys want to do, but also at the same time trying to find a digital format that we can afford, that we can manage. And I think we can do both of those things simultaneously would be my suggestion, but it's up to you guys as to how you want to proceed.
Gina, do you think we could start with the chalkboard, whiteboard, whatever concept and just put it at the farmer's market Saturday? And there's enough people walking around doing that. And even if we can't find a storefront right now, we can put it out Saturday mornings and probably a high traffic time and go from there. And then at least we're moving forward with something if we can't find a storefront or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I think that low tech, low budget charm at this point in time is kind of fun and different. I think it obviously management would be much easier. It'll look a lot more professional, but just for the time being, and we could do both. I love the idea of the farmers market this weekend and the storefront, and then Lou going forward. Yeah, I guess something permanent, more permanent would be great.
So Gina, maybe you could head that up and give it a try, and all of us will know as we have information that we're aware of or that needs to be shared, it should go there to Gina. Maybe back to this Google Doc idea, maybe we have to think through this common place a little bit, and maybe Julie or others can chime in and tell me how we should best do this. But if we all had a space where then we can communicate, but also post things that are coming up, then you would just have to go there, Gina, to grab it. Is that how to do that, Julie, or what do you think?
That could be, I think, is there any chance that anybody has Microsoft Teams?
I do.
City does, yep.
Okay, so we could set up a team site. If we could be added to a group, we could create a team that we would all be part of. There are shared files. There's the ability to send messages to each other. We could have sub teams for our individual groups, and then you could keep some assets, pictures, you know, promotional ideas. You could build maybe a news document so that when the time, knowing that something was coming on Saturday, by Thursday everybody could put whatever their news is into a place where then whoever was generating the sign for the week could pull from. You know, I think Teams could be a great and easy way to go, and it offers a lot of options.
So if I may, because each group is going to go work in their own buckets, if you will, but this communication piece is huge and it has to overarch all three groups. If you have access to the city Teams through Bob, could you play with setting that up for us? Julie, can you think that through or think the framework of what it should look like? What do you, the rest of you think? If we would have that, I was new to Teams because I've used Google Docs, but with, you know, Bob logged us in so we could start having a place. And if we're all just, these folks could be in there sharing that. And I think you're right. We need a place to build the information so then people who are pushing it out know where to go get it.
And someone will have to, I do have Teams, but I've only participated in a meeting. I don't know how to use it for documents necessarily, so someone will have to show me. I am looking at the city calendar, and so I'm thinking, at least for this weekend, we'll say this weekend, next week, this month. And that'll kind of be the three places, and then I'll look for you guys to communicate with me until I can learn Teams and it's more populated. I'll just go off the city calendar. I presume anything that's on there is up to date and endorsed by the city. Bob, Duffy?
You're referring to the city website calendar or visit Ocon?
Visit Oconomowoc.com. Yeah.
We post all that, yes.
All right,
But
so I'm looking at the
probably
calendar.
there probably are other things too, like all this community stuff that is going on. There could be church events, there could be social events, there could be physical, you know, fitness rides, bikes. I mean, I don't know, but I think we have, for now, if you know of anything, direct it to Gina. Let's not assume it's all going to be in one place yet, right?
I think the biggest thing is Oconomowoc responds, you know,
Yeah.
visit the website, join the Facebook group and learn what's happening, you know, including, and then maybe put 2 or 3 things on there about events. But I think the biggest thing is to promote the website where everybody can go. That would be
I
a
can
great
do
thing.
that at the bottom of whatever this is. It'll be very old school, written out, and then at the bottom for more information or, you know, to visit the website for sure. Should I, well, they're all linked. It'll, okay. Or Facebook. We'll do it. Got it.
Awesome.
I have a question, and I apologize if this was addressed while I was offline.
Well, you were cooling off, we heard. No.
Yeah,
I told them.
it was super fun. From a category standpoint, are we identifying in the information that we're talking about pushing out by category, such as emotional, mental health, faith, physical, you know, major categories associated with that? Or is this kind of a shotgun? Because I think if there's an opportunity here to overwhelm people with information that may not be relevant to what they're looking for, and then
Right.
we shut everything down.
So just to kind of recap some of the stuff I think you might not have heard, we did talk about that exact issue about the need to understand what our purpose is in communicating, what the goal is. And we went back to our opening conversations about themes and how those themes could cut across all groups. And we thought any communication that goes out now would be under the types of categories of local information, resources, how people can contribute and get involved, kind of paying back in. And then something about promote positive life, Oconomowoc, something like what's the good story? I think somebody before said something, tell me something good. So there's sort of this good, resilient story piece. There's local information that could be events and activities. There's resources, that's what's available and how do people access it. And then there's this, how can I help and where contribute? I think that's where we ended up. And each group, Lou, is going to play with that in their small committee now and then see if those groups work, if those categories work. And then that can become our communication plan. And Julie, and I apologize, I know the rest of you have backgrounds too, but I know Julie has a communication expert background. You can help us make sure those are the right categories. And then I think we work with them, right? Then we've got to focus and we've got a place to put things. Is that what you were thinking, Lou? Kind of like that?
Yeah, so I heard that part of it, but
Oh.
what I didn't know if I heard was, do I as a resident get to choose what one of those pieces of information gets pushed out to me? So let's say I'm really struggling with my mental health. That's really what I want information on. Is there a checkbox or is there a group on Facebook under the response that I can go to get that information, and I don't really maybe want information about the other 4 or 5 major categories flooding me on a regular basis? Because I think people have gotten really used to customizing their message that they receive, and if they get too much, it shuts them down and it shuts them out.
I think I'm hearing maybe two things, and maybe I don't understand it well enough. It sounds like one is an organizing tool for where we're going to put things so people can go and look and see and find things, and it helps us organize. I guess then your question about how that gets pushed out and what gets pushed out is probably a little beyond me. That probably needs more thinking.
Yeah, you're correct. So it's kind of a push-pull in regard to it.
What is it, where do I go look and how is it organized? And then the other is how do we push this out and maybe that's something each group could think of, or anybody have thoughts right now? Is there a quick solution to that?
Well, one of the things that Bob mentioned before was that the website pages have individual abilities to subscribe. It might be a longer term, a phase 2, maybe we get our ideas together and figure out how to communicate them. But once we get a little bit more refined, maybe we could have a mental health page and then people could subscribe to that. But, organizing it in a way that seemed to address the biggest needs could be a start, right? And then people can either go and find something more easily or be able to receive information if we have the tools to allow that to happen. I don't know if that.
Yeah, I hear you.
Next step.
It's almost like people, once they're aware of all these categories, they could, I don't know what it's called, like sign up for like a news feed out of some one category or something. I don't know, something like that. Is that what we're saying as a possibility? I'm not opposed to it. I can't think far enough right now if there's going to be so much overlap that we don't want to miss, like, would I sign up for emotional when I'm also like really needing, something else? So I don't know. I think that's a good place to kind of put a placeholder for now in each group. Why don't we, sleep on it, swim on it, do whatever you do to kind of get your good ideas. I have to be in the water usually.
I like the city being almost a directory, as you said, Pat, kind of that old school, here's everything, all the nonprofits that exist. And Lou, you made the point, which is great. People are customizing their searches. So they may, some things they will want to go through the city to find, and other things they're going to find on their own outside of our hub. So say, for instance, you wanted mental health support or behavioral health support in this time. I don't know. Well, it'd be nice if we had a list of resources, but again, I feel like people are going to go direct if that's their need. But it's good to have all the any counseling organization that wants to be on there, Rogers, all of them can be listed, and people will say, oh, I'll check that out. But, as you said, Lou, lots of custom searches are going directly. But yeah, I think we should list anyone who wants to be listed as a helping agency or organization, list them, as long as they're legit.
Maybe the answer for now, until we think this through more, would be get people to look there for a resource. And once they see the resource, maybe we could have a live link and they would actually go to that agency, and maybe that agency has a newsletter, a news feed, a 24-hour hotline, a something. I want to do it. I'm envisioning how large it would be, and I don't know. I mean, when I think about somebody with mental emotional health needs, to me, that's a 24/7 immediate thing. And I don't want to mislead that we can do that. So if we can direct them to a place that can do that, maybe that's an intermediate step for us right now. If we can, early on, we all said this group, the purpose was to be a conduit, to link needs to resources, to meet needs. So maybe we start there and maybe we can grow into something more, Lou, and maybe like individual pages, Facebook sections, whatever, can do that as well. I think that could be an agenda item for each committee, maybe, to flesh that out a little more.
Yep.
Coming on, we're almost 5:45, and we never set a time limit, and you all signed up anyway, so I'm maybe this is the new way to do committees. I don't know. We can't go anywhere. But before we end, I do want to say some of the very powerful things that came out of the survey were the positives, that people did not see the threat of crime as anything to be concerned about right now. I think that speaks volumes for, as we know, safety needs, but also people's perception of our community. And secondly, people did not express concern that Oconomowoc as a community will not be able to come back together. In fact, there was the opposite. I look forward to, I depend on, I'm confident that. One person wrote a comment about, I know Oconomowoc can do this. And if not now, it was that kind of, if not now, when kind of message. But I think that's a great place maybe to wrap up and just remind ourselves, we're all there, and that's in different boats in a huge ocean of a problem. But we are there. And this group, the purpose of this group is really to be that conduit and that communication. So I think the charge is for each committee to very quickly meet, come up with some action steps. Julie and Bob maybe get a communication platform set up for all of us, so that then maybe we can come back together as a large group again and report out, hear the communication, hear what each group is thinking, and keep it moving. How quickly would we come back as a large group like this? Because then that will tell us how quickly we have to have our small groups. Thoughts?
I will send something out to my committee to see if we can get something in the works. I know next week's a short week, but maybe towards the end of next week.
Okay.
And then maybe mid-June we can come back together, or early June we can come back together and as a larger group and see where we're at.
Okay, I want to pin down a date because I know what happens otherwise. All our great ideas and goals don't materialize till we put a deadline. So today's the 21st. It's a Thursday. We've got a holiday weekend, then we end the month. Would this group come back together in 2 weeks, or is that too fast?
I like the idea of 2 weeks because there are a lot of moving pieces, and I'm afraid to lose the momentum.
Okay, so then that would put us at the end of the first week of June, or to your point, Jason, mid-June. Should we go with like What is today? Thursday. 2 weeks from today is June 4th. Is that a target everybody is okay with? And should we say 4 o'clock again, maybe? All right,
So
let's
that
get
means
this
that
group,
between
this.
now and June 4th, a smaller committee would need
Yes.
to meet.
Yep. So now we each, like Jason can get his group, I'll pull our group together, and then Bob, if there's any business stuff, and then we will, when we all come back, we'll report out on our action steps, the overarching communication plan, and anything else that we've discovered along the way. How does that sound?
Sounds great, Pat. Thank
June
you.
4th, 4 o'clock. I think that will hold us together, and then we'll work with Bob to post it officially again.
Did you say June 11th or June 4th?
I'm sorry, June 4th. June 4th, 4 o'clock. And then the rest of us will get the small committees together probably sometime next week. Any comments for the good of the group or closing thoughts, or maybe, I have these kind of goofy ways of closure, can anybody just go around and share one idea? I mean, one thought, one word of how you're thinking or feeling right now? Kevin, you want to start us out? One word of how you're feeling right now.
Exhausted. No.
You need some exercise, I've heard. No, I'm. Yeah.
I think
Kevin's gotten like 10,000 steps while we've been on the phone. The rest of us are sitting
The only
here.
one that's moved. Have you noticed that? I know.
I've got 20. Yeah.
A lot of pieces moving. You're a little overwhelmed, maybe.
So at the end, like I said, I think this was a really good time of communication.
Right.
I was a little concerned at first on where this was going to go, and what, because there's so many moving parts with this, and
Yeah.
there's so many things out there, and it's a spider's web of so much.
Yeah.
And I see now that we've come together, we've got a common goal, we've got a common thread, and I'm really looking forward to spending a few minutes with you and the group, just hammer more and to get together with you guys on the 4th.
Super. Thank you. Yeah, it's hard when we couldn't communicate, and but I look at the faces. I mean, these are high energy, dedicated people who are very skilled. We just needed to put a structure to it, and that's our charge. So thanks for saying that and spending your time. Anybody else? Becky, do you have any closing thoughts or a word or anything?
My word is opportunity. I think there's a lot of opportunity for overlap between the groups, and lots of different things we can do.
Great. Thanks. Jason, I'm just going through the tiles. Jason C. Curtis.
I would say it's the word I would say is foundation. I think one of the things we don't know or understand is how long or what the impacts may be and how they may change over time. We just have to, this is a good laying of the foundation, connecting these resources and networking with everybody to sustain this for hopefully not a long time, but in reality, it might be a long time.
What it takes. Perfect. Thanks. Jason, our other Jason?
Yeah, my word is pivot.
Pivot. Tell us.
Well, we're in a reality that is incredibly uncertain, but we can still be clear that we're a community that cares about our members and our people, and we're going to make them better. But to get there, we're going to have to keep pivoting to find a way forward.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. That's a great word. Julie. Julie, anything to add? Words?
I just want to say I'm really inspired by the conversation and the commitment of this group. And I think it's exciting to bring all this together and that we're going to have a positive outcome. So thanks, everybody.
Super. Sue. Sue.
Encouraged. Encouraged is the word. After reading the surveys, there was a whole lot of information, and the fact that you've narrowed it down in an hour and a half to some workable goals, it feels encouraging.
Good. Great. Thanks. Sarah? I'm just jumping around. Sarah?
Yep, I'm just that, oops, sorry. I actually was going to say encouraged as well, but I would pivot then to the word community, just bringing everybody together through all of this.
Perfect. Super. Great. And I don't want to lose anybody. Let's see. Lou, are you still, you're still hearing us, Lou? How about you?
I would say my word would be purpose.
Okay.
This task force has a purpose. The communication of that purpose and the implementation of that purpose is outstanding, and it will give our community the sense of purpose and direction that we need to move forward with.
Great. Gina?
I was going to say dizzy, but Kevin stopped moving, so I'm less dizzy now. No, my word for this project is optimistic. I really I want the community to know that they live in a place where we all care about each other, and these are tough times, and we need to stay positive and not sugarcoat anything, but try to see the bright side of things. And so I am optimistic that we can make a difference, and we can make this a great place. It is a great place to be, and we will continue that and make it better.
Super. Thanks. Yeah, no more bowling alone, right? If you ever read that book. Bob or Bob?
Well, I'll go before the mayor. I'll say collaborative.
Okay.
Make this whole conversation collaborative, cooperative, because that's the only way we're going to be able to get this done and really truly be impactful. So thank you all.
Yep, super. And Mayor Bob, you got us into this. How are you still?
That's why I left you for
last. Off the plank or what? Is this what you wanted? This is your chance.
The word that came to me immediately was the word grateful. And I'm grateful to all of you because this is really epitomizes who Oconomowoc is. And the word responds epitomizes who Oconomowoc is, was, and will be. And you guys, I'm very proud to be associated with this with all of you. So thank you all very much.
And I don't think I missed anybody, did I? I think logged off. She let me know she had to go.
What's your word for us?
I would say relieved, to be honest, because this is only because the task is so abstract, and we're not able to sit down with each other and arm wrestle ideas and hug each other and do all those things that make relationships work. So I think this is amazing that we knew people like you would make this happen. And to do this, like you say, really, I know we spent 2 hours. It doesn't feel like 2 hours. I'm very encouraged and hopeful. And I'm reminded last Sunday night on 60 Minutes, they had a section on innovations, if you will, that grew out of some of the worst times in our history. Like, for example, city sewers and indoor plumbing grew out of the period of time when there was the plague. And I guess my other word is excitement. I'm so excited to see how we are going to do what we're charged with doing, meet the needs of our community, mobilize our resources, and who knows what kind of new will invest that will help all of us. So I thank you so much. We're 10 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, so I think that's good. Unless anybody has anything else, we'll be back together as a whole group in 2 weeks, and we will be meeting as our individual committees to talk about actions in those areas and also communication in those areas before we get back together. Sound good?
Thank you so much, Pat.
Yep, be safe, be healthy, happy Memorial Day. The flags downtown look fabulous, all those things. And keep up the good work.
Take care,
Thanks, everybody.
Meeting adjourned.